So my name is Daragh Whelan. I'm the Applications Technical Director here in BOBST Florence. And I'm here mainly to support the customer on their journey when they look to buy a new machine. So everything from which machine they'd like to buy, straight to finishing and the ramp up of the machine. I'm the technical lead of the Competence Centre. And then what we tend to work on is their application on a job basket. So I've been in the industry for 32 years, all the way from a printer, in commercial roles, technical roles, operation roles. And today I've sort of here to bring all my tech, all my experience, really to help the customers make the right decision on a print machine. Especially with all the legislation in the world, and if we look back at COVID, we went back to single serving. So actually labels became more. For sure, with all the allergies in the world and everything from that perspective, we're always going to have labels. We'll have smart labels, we'll have different types of labels, but I can see label being a very big part in the future. Of course, we have to consider the sustainability, so we have to make sure the labels with the liner and all stuff like that is better for the environment, and that's something that all of the industry is working on hard, but I think labels are here for a long time to come. Look, I started printing on an A160 Gallus water-based machine, printing what we call the plant labels, veterinary labels, for the boxes that went on the meat. Now, I was handed a scalpel blade, plates, and I'd made up my own numbers, and then I printed and consecutively number. To see where we are today with RFID and really smart labels, you know, it's been great to see where we've come from and where we are now. So it's very exciting, and labeling is a really exciting product. You know, also we look at the embellishments. Some of the labels, some of the converters are putting out there are just stunning. And yeah, it's a really exciting industry. They need to make sure that the machine is future-proofed. This is very important. They need to make sure also that the machine can do multiple processes, different types of labeling, different type of packaging. This is also important, especially for some of the countries that don't have such a big market. So one day they might have to be doing labels, the next day they might have to be doing wraparound labels or shrink sleeves or even some packaging. So the investment is extremely important, and they need to understand the market trends. Today's market, and certainly since the pandemic, things have got very difficult. The prices increasing, the materials. You know, we all try to look at becoming world-class manufacturers, but that all went out a window when you actually couldn't get material, and then all of a sudden you were using up offcuts, you were using all sorts. So it's a difficult time. You have to be very efficient. Staffing is also a big issue for the companies. So we have to design machines that are future-proof, but also easy to use and consistent. And one thing that we like to do, certainly here at BOBST, is we don't like to look at digital, flexo, roto, CI flexo. We like to look at it all as just a print engine. So we try not to have different divisions of print is print. Our job is to put ink on paper. Of course, with UV, you have different levels with migration, adhesion, bond strength. And this is something that we have application experts here that look at all that. So it's not just about buying the machine, it's making sure that the machine is fit for printing the end use, and making sure to help that customers on the journey as well. I still believe the industry is quite inefficient, and I believe there's a lot more that can be done with the efficiencies of machines. And of course, the big thing now is the push on making it easier, making it more standardized, especially in Flexo. We've made a huge standardization process. We've basically digitalized a very analog process. And that just becomes about joining the dots and making sure that we understand what each component does. So I still think there's a lot of development still to be done. On the machine side, not so much, but on the connectivity side, I think a lot more. The drivers behind the technology, everything was there before COVID. Everything wanted to become more standardized. I still think that labeling is a really creative market. So I don't want to be in a position where we've actually standardize everything or commoditize everything. I still think we need that special bit of magic in there. But before COVID, we were always working on sensors, connectivity, automation, and that was based on the digital world. And I think the digital print machines have done a fantastic job of making sure the flexo and analog guys automated much more. So I still think that started way before with all these technologies, but now you have to do it. You have to do it. Before it was nice to have, but now with the increase of raw materials, the labor shortages, you really have to have a very efficient print machine within your organization, in my opinion, of course. We have people that could be printing on a label machine labels and then want to go into flexible packaging. Then you have people the opposite that are printing wide web flexible packages that want to come into labels. So the machine and these particular machines, very, very, how could I put it? They have multiple substrates, do lots of different, you can be printing labels, as I said, one day you can print in packaging. It is still print, so I go back to and it is still understanding the print. So I think today's machines are much easier to operate than the machines 10, 15 years ago. We've taken the little bit of, I call it Harry Potter, out of it. We definitely have standardized flexo. And there's been many, many great developments, not just in print machines, but in plate, in software, in unlocks, in all of the whole ecosystem around that to allow us to do that. So I would prefer to be coming into the new industry today than I would be 15, 20 years ago. The ECG is an interesting question because, as we all know, it's been around for 20, 30 years. But when we looked to do it, we wanted to look at ECG, no compromise, I called it. So we wanted to try and use all of the fantastic new developments that I just explained, the high definition plates, the automated plate mount, and we wanted to put all them together. Initially, the idea was that, digital printing is a box, you press a button and you print. Of course, behind that box, there's a lot of moving parts. So the idea was, let's try and create the digital box, the black box. Let's try and create that. And you can only really do that by truly understanding each supplier's, the ink behavior, the plate behavior, ductile blade behavior. So we made huge testing. And thankfully, at that particular time, BOBST allowed us to test on a machine here in Florence. They would understand what was that standardized and gave us the best results. So yeah, I couldn't have done that without the help of all of the partners. We had some speed bumps on the way. Every process has its strengths. Every process has a weakness. One thing when in BOBST, when we decided to do ECG, we tried to really understand everything about it. So here in Florence, as I've showed you, we have pre-press specialists, we have plate making, we have it all here in-house, because the additive at the time was, if we have a breakdown on a corona treater, they'll ring BOBST. So we wanted to understand, to be able to support the customer, to be able to truly understand the ECG process. So was it easy? No, but data is key, and if you can measure, you can control. And I was quite surprised how quickly we got there. Now I say it's easy, but people disagree. There was a lot of tolerances that we actually had to, like for instance, our print machines, we had to reduce the tolerance. Plate making, we had to reduce the tolerance. So there's a lot of tolerances that we had to truly do there to make it, because as the samples I showed you earlier on, it is no compromise. There's barely any repro on the reverse out. So it looks exactly the same as the spot color does also. And this is important for the brand owner. I think one of the, as I said earlier on, decades ago it was launched, but it wasn't launched, it wasn't taken up as much as we would have liked because of all the variables within the flexo. So the brand owner had to take a compromised product. I know brand owner will take a compromised product, but speed to the market is huge with brand owners. So now what we're finding is that brand owners are pushing converters to convert that way. And that does mean sometimes upgrading technology, upgrading machinery, changing the process, but it is the most efficient way of producing most products, because we still have silk screens, we have foiling, we still have all those beautiful embellished labels. But I think the brand owners are on board now. The converters, it's not an easy change. The new converters that are new into industry, that's easy, because you teach them how to print an ECG. And even in the flexo side, if I have an offset printer coming in to buy a flexo machine, that's probably an easier process than having the legacy, we've always done it this way mentality. So, but I do think that sustainability has pushed the management teams to start looking at it more important. And it's not for every job, of course, it's not for every machine, but for your primary labeling, your primary packaging, your flexibles, it's definitely something that will give you a better return on your investment, for sure. When I probably bought my first machine many years ago, and I bought many machines all around the world, we would go in with the engineer, we would shake the machine, we would put our hand on it, we would take temperature controls, we would do all that stuff to make sure mechanically the machine is good. I think it's fair to say that that's an assumption that the machines are mechanically good. So now customers are more interested of the process. So our conversations are much more different. It's what they print, it's the ROI, it's the TCO of the machine, it's what can it do for their business. So I think it's changed a lot. What BOBST wanted to do was to make sure we had people that actually could go on that journey with the customer and not just talk about metal, not talk, talk about actually the process and their business, and start having a business relationship. And that becomes really good, because if they're successful, we might get another order, which is always nice, and that's always the charm. So yeah, it's definitely changed, and it's a really nice journey to go on. Some people don't want to share. Some people, we have customers that have been doing it their way and they've got their own way of doing it. They know exactly the machine. But then one day we could have a customer that's never printed in his life, and we've had that situation where they've never printed 1 meter in their life, and then they come in, they invest in the machine and the pre-press and everything, and we support them all the way in that journey, and then they're printing. And some get, print for some really large brands. So I think it's now more of a business conversation, and also it's understanding to buy a machine is a huge investment for any print company, and it has to be the right investment. And with all the technology out there today, it's our job to try and help them and steer them, not tell them because they know their own mind, but at least give them the opportunity to see the strengths, weakness and profit of each of our technologies. Yes, I think everything applies. Hybrid machine, or all-in-one machine as we call it, is still, as I said earlier, it's a print engine, 2 print engines in this particular machine. And being a digital machine and being what I would call a digiflexo, because as you've seen from our machines, they're very highly automated, it's easier to connect into those machines. So I think it's important that we understand the process. Traditionally I'm a pure flexo guy, but I'm not getting any younger, and I like to work smarter, not harder. And I think the all-in-one machine really, with the automated of the flexo elements, because we discussed earlier on, we don't want a commodity, we don't want to make labels commodity. Labels are a fantastic business, and as I said, there's some beautiful labels out there. We just want to help customers to get from PDF to invoice quicker. And that's a partnership, and that's, I think, that's why we like to have it under one roof. We can make changes to the machine very quickly. We can understand customer needs. So if they want to do a very special project, we can look at that and make that happen quickly. I said earlier on, profit is king, and it's very important that our customers make an investment. And again, I would like to reiterate, it's stressful making an investment. You've got a lot of good vendors out there, and people buy from people, and people want to know that they have a person to call, especially in the US, who's my guy, and that's a huge part of a service, is a huge part of it, servicing all around the world. And doing intelligence servicing, COVID taught us how to, I spent maybe a year on a video camera teaching people how to try and get the best out of the machine. But yeah, I still think that's the all-in-one machine. For us, it's a part of our portfolio. It's exciting because it allows us to get quite inventive.